Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day. You may have noticed that we've redesigned the set a little bit. We are doing this for EP Live, Electric Playground Live. We're going to try to make live programming for you as often as possible when we are in Vancouver. We're going to get started, though, with our rundown, the very first studio rundown of 2018, season 28. And I'd like to thank some very recent sponsors of the show: Ken Pajala, Sean McGregor, Colin Gibson, Armageddon B, Feudal King. This rundown is all yours. Don't expect to get your hands on a 4K or VR-capable version of the Nintendo Switch anytime soon. Nintendo has no plans to embrace 4K gaming or virtual reality, at least not for the foreseeable future. That's according to Nintendo France Managing Director Philippe Laveau. In a new interview with the French website Le Numérique, Laveau says that VR and 4K are still relatively niche technologies that don't have mainstream appeal, so Nintendo won't invest in them until they become something more than just novelties. That's not the only shade he's throwing. Laveau also reiterated Nintendo's previous concerns about VR, namely that it closes you off from the rest of the world and prevents gaming from being a social experience, which is something that Nintendo tries to promote with all their systems. I guess this means we won't be seeing a 4K Switch Pro with VR support in the near future, although there's always a chance that Nintendo will change their mind if the technology has become mainstream. They're at least thinking about it, because last year Nintendo filed a patent for a VR version of the Switch that can slide into the front of an empty headset, so there's a chance that this might become a reality at some point down the line. We'll let you know. The Last Jedi is so divisive, audiences can now watch two different versions of the movie. A special new version, or versions, of the latest Star Wars adventure has begun rolling out in Japan. Disney has created two different versions for the country's 4DX theaters, which use motion chairs, smoke effects, and other gimmicks to immerse audiences in the action that unfolds on screen. The two different versions of The Last Jedi are based on the light and dark sides of the Force and have different effects and atmospheric changes depending on what version you choose. For example, if audiences pick the light version, scenes with the heroic resistance will get positive effects, while the dark version gives the villainous First Order the positive effects. 4DX theaters might seem like a cheesy gimmick, but they're actually seen as a key way to encourage audiences to keep going to the theater by giving them something they can't get at home, which is important given the overall drop in film attendance. The Last Jedi is doing well in Japan, although it's having some trouble in other parts of the world. In neighboring China, where Star Wars isn't as well known, the film has been an undisputed box office bomb, earning just $28 million in its first weekend and seeing a shocking 92% plunge in its second week. This might mean that Disney is in serious trouble with the franchise, as China is expected to become the biggest film market in the world in the next few years. We might finally get a new look at the next big game from the makers of the Witcher series. Polish developer CD Projekt Red, whose last big game, The Witcher 3, came out in 2015, has been hard at work on a highly anticipated sci-fi game called Cyberpunk 2077. It was first announced with a teaser trailer back in 2013, but since then, very little of the game has been shown off. That could be about to change. Polish website Gry Online, citing unnamed sources at the studio, reports that Cyberpunk 2077 will get a new unveiling at E3 this June, and best of all, they claim it will also be playable on the show floor. That means attendees will actually be able to play it, which, if true, means a global launch could be coming soon after, possibly before the end of the year. Before you get too excited, though, keep in mind that CD Projekt Red themselves haven't made any official announcements, so consider this a rumor until that changes. Still, fans are anxious to find out anything they can about Cyberpunk 2077. Like the Witcher games, it's expected to have a vast open world with heavy RPG elements, only in a futuristic sci-fi metropolis inspired by sci-fi movies like, well, Metropolis. You know we'll have more details as they come in. After trying his hand at science fiction with The Orville, Seth MacFarlane is returning to science fact. Fox Television and the National Geographic Channel have renewed MacFarlane's Cosmos for a second season. The new show, which is a reboot of Carl Sagan's iconic 1980s TV series of the same name, explores the real-life science behind our planet and the universe with the aim of making it accessible and interesting to casual audiences. Fans have been waiting a while. The first season of the new Cosmos hit the airwaves back in 2014, and the second season isn't slated to arrive until spring 2019. Like the first season, it will once again be hosted by astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, with MacFarlane serving as executive producer alongside the show's co-creator, Carl Sagan's widow, Anne Druyan. As for what fans can expect, the new season carries the subtitle Possible Worlds, which indicates that it will explore what alien worlds and life forms might look like, although don't expect it to be as silly as The Orville.
That is unfortunate.
It's worth pointing out that by the time the new season airs in spring 2019, Disney will have finished their acquisition of 20th Century Fox, which includes Fox Television and the National Geographic Channel. That means Cosmos Season 2 could be one of the first big productions to air after the acquisition takes effect. The makers of some of the best racing games in recent memory are revving their engines for something new. Former members of the DriveClub and MotorStorm development teams have formed a new game development company called Wushu Studios. Based in Liverpool, England, the studio is comprised of former members of developer Evolution Studios, which sadly closed its doors in 2016. Even though they've primarily worked on racing games in the past, going forward, the new studio is going to try something a little different. Wushu Studios has announced that they're working on a science fiction game that will be an original IP, although that's pretty much all they've said for now. Given their pedigree, don't be surprised if there's a lot of vehicle segments though. Hopefully they'll be ready to show off what they're working on soon, because we can't wait to get a look. That does it today for the Rundown. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, we've got EP Live starting at 1:30. Our guest today is going to be Evan Narcisse, who's talking about Rise of the Black Panther. I can't wait for that, and I hope you tune in. In the meantime, if you dig our stuff, don't forget to hit subscribe, that little bell, and if you're so inclined, that sponsorship button too.